picture the lush green forests and sprawling vineyards of California, and it's easy to see why this state has captured the imaginations of people around the world. But what if that idyllic landscape was suddenly transformed into a barren wasteland, with dry, cracked earth stretching as far as the eye can see? What if the life-giving waters that sustain our communities and fuel our industries were suddenly scarce and hard to come by? That nightmare scenario is the reality that California faces today, as it grapples with one of the worst droughts in its history. For years, California has been locked in a battle against a seemingly unstoppable force: droughts. From the Sierra Nevada mountains to the Central Valley, this parched and arid landscape has become an all too familiar sight, as rivers run dry, reservoirs shrink to record lows, and crops wither in the fields. This isn't just a natural disaster, but a man-made crisis fueled by a perfect storm of environmental, social, and economic factors. But why has this once verdant state become a poster child for the effects of climate change? What are the underlying causes of California's water crisis? And what can be done to prevent a catastrophe that could impact millions of people and ecosystems alike? Join us as we explore the real reason why California experiences massive droughts, and uncover the steps we take to create a more sustainable future for ourselves and the planet. According to a recent New York Times article, one major cause of California's droughts is its reliance on the Colorado River. This mighty river is the lifeblood of the American West, providing water to over 40 million people and millions of acres of farmland. But the river is also over-allocated, meaning that more water is promised to users than actually exists. And as the demand for water increases, the river has been stretched thin. But that's not the only factor at play. The New York Times article highlights another major cause of California's droughts: climate change. Rising temperatures and changing precipitation patterns have made California's water supply more unreliable than ever. As the article notes, California is becoming warmer, drier, and prone to heat waves, exasperating drought conditions. The effects of this can be seen throughout the state, from the shrinking reservoirs to the parched fields. The combination of these two factors, overuse of the Colorado River and the impacts of climate change, has created a perfect storm of drought conditions in California. And as the state struggles to cope with these challenges, the question remains: what can be done to prevent future droughts and ensure that California's water supply remains sustainable? As we've seen, the impact of California's droughts is far-reaching and deeply felt, and among those hardest hit are the farmers who rely on the state's precious water supply to grow their crops. With the climate becoming more erratic and extreme, they're forced to grapple with increasingly unpredictable weather patterns, leaving them with a difficult choice to make: to save their crops or protect the ecosystem. And according to the Sacramento Bee, the situation is so dire that many farmers have had to rely on groundwater to irrigate their crops, which in turn depletes the state's already limited underground aquifers. It's a delicate balance that's becoming more difficult to maintain with each passing year, and as the state's water crisis continues, the future of California's agriculture hangs in the balance. But it's not just farmers who are affected. Imagine being a homeowner in Southern California, with a brown, lifeless lawn that serves as a constant reminder of the state's water crisis. You're being asked to limit your outdoor watering, but you're not sure how to keep your garden alive, or how to keep your family cool in the sweltering summer heat. In another article by the Los Angeles Times, residents in Southern California are being urged to conserve water as the state experiences its driest year on record. Many have been asked to limit their outdoor watering and to replace their grass lawns with drought-resistant landscaping. But there's more to the story than just surface water. In an article by UCLA's Institute of the Environment and Sustainability, researchers suggest that the depletion of underground aquifers is just as significant in exacerbating California's water crisis. You see, California relies heavily on groundwater for its agricultural and urban needs, especially during droughts when surface water is scarce. But the overpumping of aquifers has resulted in their depletion, leading to subsidence where land sinks and can cause damage to infrastructure and ecosystems. Think about it. As the water is extracted, the ground begins to sink, creating a kind of domino effect that causes serious harm to buildings, roads, bridges, and even wildlife. In fact, some parts of the San Joaquin Valley have sunk up to 28 feet, leaving scars on the land that will take centuries to heal. And to make matters worse, the groundwater in some areas is now so depleted that it may be impossible to ever replenish it. As a result, it's not just the surface water that's drying up, it's the underground water as well. And when the aquifers are depleted, the state's ability to weather future droughts is greatly compromised. The water crisis in California is a multifaceted problem that requires a multi-pronged solution. It's up to all of us to take responsibility for our water use, find new sources of water, and make sure that the water we use is used wisely and efficiently. Because if we don't act now, the consequences could be catastrophic, not just for California, but for the entire planet. But until these solutions are put into practice, the state will continue to face the devastating effects of droughts, with no end in sight. The situation is dire, and it's only getting worse. The latest reports indicate that California is facing an unprecedented water crisis, with reservoirs running dry, wells running low, and rivers reduced to mere trickles. Without significant changes in water management and usage, the state could be facing a catastrophe of epic proportions. As if California's water issues weren't already complex enough, there's another factor to play: climate change. A recent article by The Guardian highlights the impacts of rising temperatures and reduced snowpack in the mountains on the state's water supply. This is affecting the amount and timing of water flow in the state's rivers and streams, with less water available in the summer months when demand is highest. As a result, the state is facing a looming water crisis. The changing climate is causing more frequent and severe droughts, which exacerbate California's water issues. According to the same article, the recent drought in the western United States has been caused by a combination of low precipitation, high temperatures, and reduced snowpack. This has led to water shortages, parched landscapes, and devastating wildfires. The impacts of climate change are also being felt in the state's agriculture industry. As temperatures rise and water becomes scarcer, farmers are forced to adapt. They may switch to more drought-resistant crops or implement more efficient irrigation systems, but these solutions are often expensive and not feasible for all farmers. In addition, some crops are simply not able to survive without a certain amount of water, which can lead to crop failures and economic losses. On top of that, the dry conditions brought on by droughts have increased the risk of wildfires, which have become more frequent and destructive. In fact, the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection reported that 2021 has been one of the worst wildfire seasons on record, with over 7,000 fires burning more than 2.4 million acres of land. So, what can be done to address the drought crisis in California? The answer is complex, and there are no easy solutions. But one of the most important steps is to reduce water usage across the board. This means limiting outdoor watering, promoting drought-resistant landscaping, and finding ways to use water more efficiently in agriculture and industry. Another key step is to invest in renewable energy, such as wind and solar power, which can reduce greenhouse gas emissions and help combat climate change. By taking steps to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, we can help reduce the severity of droughts and their impact on the environment. Finally, we need to invest in scientific research to better understand the causes and effects of droughts. This includes studying the impacts of climate change on water supply, developing new technologies to improve water management, and finding innovative new ways to use and conserve water in the face of increasingly unpredictable weather patterns. California is facing one of its most challenging times, but by taking action now, we can help to prevent a water crisis that could have devastating consequences for our state and beyond. Remember, every drop counts. As we've learned, the drought crisis in California is a complex issue with a variety of contributing factors, from climate change and mismanagement of water resources, to inefficient infrastructure and over-reliance on groundwater. There are many challenges that must be addressed in order to safeguard the state's future. But Californians have the power to make a difference. By taking small steps in their everyday lives to conserve water, support renewable energy, and advocate for policies that prioritize sustainability, we can help to ensure that our state remains a vibrant and thriving place for generations to come.